Detroit basketball. Let's go Lakers! Let's go Lakers! Let's go Lakers!
I'm feeling ecstatic. We went out to eat, and as soon as right before our food came, my boy Amir, who's sitting somewhere around here, right there, Amir just put it into us. He said, "Yo guys, we just got the update. LeBron's coming to LA," and we just went nuts, flipped tables at the restaurant, and next thing we knew, we're like, "How far is LA live?" And it said 15 minutes.
LeBron is headed to LA. Welcome into the show. It's July 2nd, and we already have maybe what's been the craziest start to NBA free agency in a long, long time. The amount of contracts that have been signed already or agreed to, the player movement. We're going to spend this whole show breaking down free agency. I'm Chris Pappas. We got Joey Tysick, Malik Hill, the whole crew in the studio here. What's going on, guys?
Not much. Just LeBron changing teams again. Surprise, surprise.
What's up, Malik?
People are flipping tables and rioting. This is nonsense. People need to calm down.
It's just sports, right?
People need to relax.
Nothing's happened yet.
Ruining restaurants.
He's just committed. He's not done anything yet.
That would be hilarious if he backed out.
That
would be
if somehow he
great.
backed out. Oh, man. I got some breaking news into the studio. Start of the show here.
Really, we have breaking news.
We got breaking news. Detroit Piston fan favorite, Anthony Tolliver.
Oh, no.
He's gone.
The Tolliver effect
According
has
to
moved on.
according to Shams Charania of Yahoo Sports, Anthony Tolliver is joining the little Wolves in Minnesota. He's going to be a Minnesota Timberwolf. I think it's a good fit. I think
Is it really, though?
I think so. Veteran presence. I think they need
They got
it.
Gorgie Jang and
I
Taj
think
Gibson already.
But I think they need more of a veteran presence. I mean, Andrew Wiggins has been disgruntled. You still got young guys like Tyus who's going to play behind Derrick Rose. I think it's a good fit. Anthony shoots the three ball at a 40% clip.
I was more sad when Aaron Baines left.
That was a complete misplay by the Pistons.
Completely.
But, I mean, we got too much to go through.
Him and Steve
Touch on
Blake.
that. Steve Blake, yeah, greatest Piston of all time. Steve Blake. He's in the Hall of Fame for the Pistons along with Ronald Dupree.
Him and Beno Udrih were point guards on the Pistons one year. Just think about that. Okay, let's move on.
all right. Let's get into the actual news that we need to talk about. So LeBron has signed a 4-year, $154 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. Along with that, the Lakers signed his buddy, Lance Stevenson, to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. They also re-signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who might be the greatest free agent signing in NBA history last year because he shares the same agent as LeBron James. So Magic could have contact with Rich Paul and Maverick Carter all year to build that relationship for LeBron to go to LA. That is a variable that I don't think people talk about that much. He's back in the fold, along with JaVale McGee, who might be your starting center on opening night.
After he said he wanted to be a Warrior.
I'm going to give you guys the floor here. Give your initial thoughts on LeBron heading to the Lakers. I know we all kind of expected it, but it's a reality now. I'm going to start with Joe, and then we'll go Malik. What's your initial thoughts here, Joey?
It's pretty crazy. It definitely changes. I think the biggest thing is that it changes the dynamic of the East and West. We've had LeBron in the East for his entire career, and now he moves over to the much more competitive Western Conference. So that'll be really interesting. Obviously, being with the Lakers' legacy, I don't know what that's going to do to his own legacy. It could be pretty tough for him, actually, to have to follow up what people will expect out of him now that he's moved on to Los Angeles. It's not going to be a cakewalk, and it's not going to be as easy as maybe some people think that it will be.
Malik?
I think the free agent signings, I'm going to get to that first. I think the Lance Stevenson signing is a huge risk for me.
That is pure entertainment for me. I'm so excited for that.
Outside of Indiana, he's been a mess. Charlotte gave him a big deal. I thought he would be a pretty good player in Charlotte, completely fell apart. But you're right, he is a Showtime player. He is entertainment. He's going to throw flashy passes and just talk to the crowd all game.
I
But
can't wait for that Lance Stevenson pass off the backboard to LeBron.
it can be completely hit or miss because you never know with Lance.
At least they got him on a short-term deal though, so
yeah.
they're not locked in like Charlotte was, and it really was a bad deal. Sorry, carry on.
Exactly, but I think the JaVale McGee signing is good. That's the type of center they needed right now. I think JaVale has moved past all being the most goofy player and the Shaqtin' the Fool player in the league. I think now he's a really good rebounder. He's still extremely athletic, really good on defense. He's really strong. He's going to help out a lot. But like Joey said, Laker fans, I think at this point Laker fans are worse than Cowboys fans for me. How annoying they are on social media and the expectations they think they deserve everything. It kind of annoys me.
Hey man, they haven't
But-
been to the playoffs in 5 years. They are due.
Some franchises
joking.
have had worse. Get over
I
it.
know. I'm
Hey,
just
at least, like I said, though, I feel like Lakers fans understand a little bit more about basketball rather than the Heat fans that I talked about last week.
Joey, you got to stop throwing shade at fan bases.
Hey,
all
they
right?
walked out on their team.
Heat
Man.
fans just aren't as passionate as Lakers
If
fans.
you saw the
I don't
nightlife
think
in
they
South
care as
Beach,
much.
Joe,
If you walk out on
That has
their
nothing to
team-
do with basketball.
Yeah, we're talking about the fans, Chris, not the area. Yeah, Miami's great.
Yeah, the game is the pregame, and then you go out and have fun in Miami. But this is going to be tough. LeBron is in the West now. There are no games being played anymore. This first year could really shock people about how average they could be, honestly. If they win 43, 44 games, barely get in as an 8th seed, I think Laker fans will be mad, but I don't expect them to be great right off the bat. I'm happy Magic Johnson said next year's free agency is just as big as this one. They can still go and get a huge name next year to help LeBron out. But luckily he signed a 4-year contract because it's going to take a while.
yeah.
Getting past those guys in Golden State is going to take a lot.
And from my understanding of the contract, there's no opt out, so he's locked in for 4 years.
Yeah.
At the $154 million, so he's here long term, which is good for Magic and Rob Pelinka because they don't have to worry about it. They don't have that cloud hanging above their head like Dan Gilbert and Colby Allman had in Cleveland. And word is the Lakers are still pursuing Kawhi Leonard right now. Spurs are asking for the house,
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah,
I don't see it happening either.
Next summer free agency is probably when that
And-
might happen.
Yeah, and it sounds like with these 1-year deals, Magic and them they're angling for that 2019 free agency. But to play devil's advocate, they were kind of waiting for Paul George this year too.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed in OKC. I mean, Philly might come into negotiations next year in 2019, maybe steal away Kawhi. You never know what's going to go on.
I think
through a whole
Philadelphia
year.
has a better case and a better offer right now. I think Kawhi would rather. Well, he wants to play in LA, but come on, Kawhi, you go to the East
Yeah.
and you just dominate with Philadelphia, and it's you versus the Lakers that would be huge. But if Kawhi wants to go home, I think the Sixers is a better choice. But
I think it's a better basketball fit,
Yeah.
and he can be the best player in the Eastern Conference.
exactly,
I want to pose a question to you guys. I have a couple questions lined up because this is a huge move. This, like we touched on, changes everything
for the
in the
for the
NBA.
coming years, maybe till LeBron retires, this changes everything.
How does this singular move, just LeBron moving from Cleveland to LA, change the landscape of the NBA? Malik?
Well, everybody is going in even more on the East right now, which there are still some good teams over there, but everybody will probably think it's even more of a unbalanced right now. But it changes a lot. I'm trying to formulate it all in my head
Yeah.
right now. I'm gonna let Joey go because I'm still trying to figure
I
it
gotcha.
out. Yeah,
It definitely
it's a big question.
It
to kind
is,
of go
it
off of what Malik is saying is that the East is very top heavy, and the West now adds another team to that playoff run. It's almost like 1 through 12 in the Western Conference can make the playoffs. You don't know who's going to be good, and it's going to every night is going to be really competitive for those Western Conference team. Every win is going to matter. The East, we know Sixers, Celtics, Raptors. We just don't know beyond those first 3 teams who's going to step up in the Eastern Conference and say, hey, LeBron's gone. This is our chance. Let's go do something. The Western Conference is going to be insane. It's going to be interesting to watch. I'm excited for what our Christmas games are going to be.
You can't have Golden State Cleveland on Christmas Day. That cannot
Yeah,
be your marquee
It'll be
game.
an embarrassment. It will not.
I understand the tradition that they do that.
Right.
The NBA has to be proactive in saying, okay, we know this is not gonna match up well. Let's scrap it.
It's probably going to be LA versus Cleveland. I'd see them doing that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And put maybe like a Golden State versus Houston or something, like the actual finals rematch kind of. All right. Moving on. We talked about this pre-show. I'll hit Malik. I think Malik, you'll be ready for this one. Can the Lakers compete with Golden State today?
No chance whatsoever.
No chance.
Zero chance. You have some good young players, but they're just good young players. You have LeBron, who has carried a team in the Eastern Conference to a championship. This team doesn't get past the second round, in my opinion. You have
Wow.
the Minnesota Timberwolves were an 8th seed. They're still going to be a good team. The Denver Nuggets are about to get better, especially if Michael Porter Jr. plays at all and gets better this year. They're going to be a better team.
Well, they're still a young team, so they're just going to get that gradual
Yeah.
growth as
Then
well.
you have Golden State, you have Houston, you have OKC, who's better than them. San Antonio.
See, I don't know if I would put OKC above the Lakers just because of LeBron James. They lost to Utah
They did.
in the first round. Humiliated. Lost in
right.
5 games.
But
I'm not convinced in OKC.
I think besides Donovan Mitchell, Quinn Snyder was the X factor in that series, and his coaching just completely took out the Thunder. Do you think Luke Walton can completely outcoach Billy Donovan?
Yes.
I'm not extremely.
I don't think Billy Donovan's the greatest coach. Now, can he outcoach Quinn Snyder?
I think
No.
Billy Donovan is a good coach. I think Luke Walton is a solid coach right now.
But you
So-
think too,
You gotta
OKC is going to get Andre Roberson back.
Exactly.
Who can
Fair
They'll
point.
guard?
have their best
point.
defensive stopper.
Who
Fair
can
point.
guard Russell Westbrook for the Lakers? No one.
KCP. That's who they'll put on him. He is a
They'll
lockdown
try.
defender.
He'll be
I
okay.
think he'd be a decent option.
But then you have Paul George.
You put
And
LeBron on
then-
Paul George.
LeBron on Paul George is.
That's easy.
I don't think LeBron
Well,
is
it's
an
not
elite
easy,
defender.
but you really don't think he's an elite
LeBron
defender?
is not an elite
No.
defender.
Fellas,
LeBron is not
fellas.
an elite
When LeBron
defender.
is engaged in a
LeBron,
playoff series,
Paul George
LeBron is an
no
elite
slump.
defender.
Though. Paul George is no slump.
no,
on
I
defense
know,
either.
I know, and he's a star player, so Paul's going to get
most
his.
NBA players can really defend when they're engaged, but most of them aren't.
In the playoffs, LeBron will not lock up, but keep Paul George at bay. You can't tell me that Paul George is going to explode for 50 points on LeBron James in a playoff series.
I
That's
honestly
not
think,
going to happen.
I think if you have a small forward that can defend, if Andre Roberson was guarding Paul George, let's say, like if he'd shut down Paul, I think a lot of people could shut down Paul George. I'm gonna say
Yeah,
that.
so you're hating on LeBron that he can't shut down Paul George? I don't
He's
know.
not a shutdown defender. He'll never be all defense.
I just don't think it would
I'm
be.
pretty
as
sure it wasn't
easy.
all NBA. Wasn't he all defense like
maybe
second team
maybe because of his
back
blocks.
in Miami?
I'm
I
not
remember
sure.
it was a goal of his back when he was in Miami in like year 2 and year 3 that he was actually trying to go for that defensive player of the year. I think he got voted like top 3 in his second year in Miami when he won that MVP.
I'm sure if he puts his mind to it,
That's
he
what I'm
can
saying, like,
win
he-
almost anything.
That's what I'm
but,
saying.
you know.
So when he's engaged, he is an elite defender. He has all the physical attributes of an elite defender.
Yes, he has
I'm-
the- he
the
has the
only
attributes.
player that I think has better attributes than LeBron is Kawhi Leonard defensively.
Kawhi is the best.
Kawhi is a freak.
Yes.
So we don't think they can challenge Golden State.
Utah's ahead of them.
Joe, you're on board with that. You don't think they
Yeah,
can challenge
I-
Golden State as of now, as of today.
I think there's a lot of teams that they can't challenge.
Portland is a better team than them. New Orleans might be a better team than them.
Portland. I'm gonna
Portland
disagree
Portland
with
won
you.
over Portland won over 50 games.
They won 49.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I thought they won over 50. Okay.
I'm taking
okay.
I'm taking into account the way they played in the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Well, if
picking.
you talk about the playoffs, then yeah.
Yeah.
But
I ain't-
regular season wise, Portland is going to be better than.
Because
LA.
I'm going what's latest in my mind, and that's Portland
I'm not
in that
picking.
playoff
I'm not
series.
picking a Portland team to dethrone LeBron James and say this is the end of his 8 straight years in the NBA Finals. Houston, I can understand. Golden State, I can understand. Utah would be a fun series. That would be a fun series.
LA won't be top 4.
Malik, I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think
I agree with
They won't
Malik.
be top 4.
I agree. With
it'll
Malik.
be interesting to see to play out.
They can definitely get carried by LeBron, obviously, but
I
in that
think you guys-
Western in
when
that
it
Western
gets-
Conference.
when it gets to a playoff series, I think it's going to be tough.
I think one thing you guys are discrediting a little bit is their young guys are still good players. Lonzo
they have young
Ball-
good players. Yeah.
Lonzo Ball is going to be a solid point guard, especially learning from LeBron. He's
I
going to
think
be
he's going
solid
to be
next
really.
year.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really.
Kyle
good in the future.
Kuzma, he was first team all rookie.
Yeah.
Are-
That dude's a stud.
Are any of them going to hit a sophomore slump? along with having to be on a team with LeBron and having to face those pressures.
It's possible, but you can't predict the future. You can go off what you've seen in the past. Brandon Ingram, he's a solid role player, especially since he'll probably be playing behind LeBron, I'd assume. Having that guy off the bench, it's good. I'm not going to say Julius Randle yet because he's not officially back. There's been talks that they're meeting today. We'll find out more about this roster as we go along through free agency, but the Lakers still have a solid young core, in my opinion.
They'll be a team that's just as good as Denver, in my opinion. Just as good as Denver.
The
I think
difference
the
between
Lakers will be at the back end of the playoffs.
We'll see. I mean, we can all make our predictions now, but it means nothing until we get to April.
This will be the
I
toughest.
know, but we got to make them now so then we can use those sound bites later.
This will be LeBron's toughest playoff stretch.
I agree with
by
you.
far.
I think so. All right, this is an interesting question. Joey, I'll hit you first. If you were a Cavs fan,
Ugh.
how are you feeling about LeBron James today and your Cleveland Cavaliers? Two-part
Obviously,
question.
you're very concerned as a fan, but I also don't think you'd be surprised. Like, social media is around these days; it's very prevalent, and all the signs were pointing for LeBron to go to LA. So I think people had time to brace themselves. I'm pretty sure they had somewhat an idea that they were expecting it. So I think you just move on. I mean, I know they're taking down the banner, and I don't know. They're definitely concerned. They're going to be in where the Pistons were a few years ago.
Do you think Cleveland fans will embrace LeBron still, or will he get the booing treatment? Maybe not to the same extent he did in 2010, but if you're a Cavs fan, Joey, LeBron comes back to Cleveland, are you giving him a standing ovation? Are you silent, or are you booing?
Oh, I would definitely boo him.
Wow.
But I don't know.
Wow.
serious?
I'm not a Cavs
I would
fan.
stand up and cheer. He delivered a championship
I'm not a
for
Cavs
the first
fan.
time in 52
You're
years.
asking a guy that hates the
I
Cavs.
do too. I hate him too.
But I also dislike LeBron. I respect the guy, but I don't like him. You're the LeBron fan here, so I don't know how to react to that. So I just say boo.
I would give him a standing
Because he
ovation.
left the team.
As the man in the
But he
middle,
came
obviously.
back. He came back and delivered on a promise to end that city's professional sports drought. 52-year drought, Joey.
Yeah.
And you're going to boo the man that ended the drought.
I've seen a video of a fan saying thank you. Dan Gilbert wrote a thank you note. Out of all people, Dan Gilbert.
I definitely think
He's going
he
to get
won't,
the greatest standing ovation.
He definitely won't get the backlash he did when he left.
He brought a
at first.
championship to Cleveland. If they boo him, they won't boo him.
I think there will be
He's
some
going to get a
people that
standing
boo him,
ovation.
but I think the boos.
And they'll make those people
I
shut
think
up.
I think it'll be similar to Vince Carter returning to Toronto, where
They made a welcome
he was-
home video for him.
he was booed.
That was awesome.
He was booed initially, and then it turned into a standing ovation.
That was one of the craziest scenes.
I feel it'd be something similar to that.
Nah, I don't know. Vince never delivered a championship or anything past the conference finals.
He didn't have the team.
He meant everything to Toronto.
He didn't have
He
the
did.
team.
He did.
He put Toronto on the map.
The thing, this is totally off topic. Have you guys ever seen The Carter Effect?
Oh
It's
yeah,
on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really good
I watched it
documentary.
right
Breaks
away.
down everything.
Haven't seen it.
You should check it out. It's
Okay.
actually
On
it's a really good film about Vince Carter's contributions to that Toronto area and that whole
Okay.
country, Canada.
favorite player of all time.
Fantastic player, fun to watch. All right. Does this move, LeBron going to LA, make you think the NBA should go with the 1 through 16 playoff seeding? Joey.
Yes and no. I know
Come on.
that's
No cop outs here on the show, Joe. I
But,
need
like-
hot takes.
But I only say that because I really, really always have enjoyed the East versus West kind of thing. And back in the day, the West had the high-powered offenses like the Phoenix Suns, and the East was the gritty defensive teams like the Pistons and the Pacers and things like that. And now the league is getting more and more lopsided, I feel. Like I said, that the East is kind of top-heavy. The West is filled throughout. I feel like on a competitive level, it'd be better if they did the 1 through 16. But I just like the whole aspect of the East versus West. You get the Sixers-Lakers rivalries, all these rivalries that have gone on for years and years and years now. You would probably get rid of them. And then I know you can start some new rivalries, but you just have some weird matchups, and I don't know if it's exactly what I'd want.
Now, I slightly disagree that it would be more competitive for the instance that you would have the likes of a Golden State Warrior team playing the worst team in the playoffs, like the Washington Wizards. That's an annihilation. There's no
Right.
competitiveness. If you keep it how it is, yeah, the East is lesser talented, not as great of teams, but they're closer to each other to make a competitive game or a competitive series and create that buzz or that interest in a potential playoff series for the NBA, you know? Yeah, you're going to get more competitiveness at the end. Like you could see Golden State versus Houston in your championship game. But the start of the playoffs would be a little bit rough, in my opinion.
Maybe.
I mean, it's opinionated, but
Right.
Malik, what do you think? Do you think they should go to that 1-16 playoff seeding?
I think there's no way you go to the 1-16.
It changes history. It alters history.
I think
Yeah.
you keep it how it is. I mean, when you look at it, in the early 2000s, the Lakers were the Cavs of the West. Nobody had a chance. Everybody was like, Sacramento's coming. Sacramento never came.
Yeah.
The East was always extremely competitive and loaded. I mean, it switches every now and you can't get mad at the West for drafting great by accident over the years. The Thunder got 3 future MVPs. The Golden State drafted Steph, Clay, and Draymond. I mean, this is how it happens every decade. One conference is up, one conference is loaded. There's a dominating team in the other conference. This is just how it is.
Now, one would
I
argue
mean, this may be one of the most lopsided
Yeah.
eras, maybe, but
because
it'll
LeBron
switch again at some point.
has always kept the Eastern Conference at bay talent-wise, going against the Western Conference. Western Conference has been, now, what has it been, Joe? Maybe like 10, 15 years that the Western Conference has been the better conference.
Yeah, I would almost say
But they've had the best player in the Eastern Conference.
possibly it could be possibly longer even.
Seriously.
As an
Yeah.
as an overall conference.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of the East being better, at least on paper. I always think at certain times the East is better than the West, obviously. But since like the early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah.
Back with like Celtics, Bulls, Pistons.
So I understand why this playoff reform is getting consideration because the Western Conference has been dominant for decades now.
Right.
But to change the playoff seeding is changing history.
Right.
Do you really want to do that when, there's going to be a time when the Western Conference is not better than the East? It's going to happen, regardless if it's 2 years from now or 20 years from now. It'll happen. But I think that's a really tough thing to pass through the NBA boards of governors and have that as your playoff format. I
Right.
think
That's
it'd
what
be
I'm
rough.
saying. Like technically, like basketball wise, it might be a good move, but like for the culture,
We do it for the culture here.
it might not be the best.
The
move.
problem is more of the super team era, in my opinion. Everybody wants to team up, and it just happens that a lot of superstars are in the West, so it's even worse.
Why did KG and Paul Pierce have to do that? Ray Allen started a whole thing.
Hey, man.
All right. Well, that's our LeBron stuff for the day. We'll be talking more LeBron, more Lakers throughout the summer, which is unfortunate, but it's going to be what it's going to be. At least it's better than Cleveland talk. Sorry, guys. Mic
My
drop.
bad.
Mic drop.
Moving on.
Moving on. Paul George, to the surprise of a lot of people, re-signs with OKC. It's a 4-year deal for $137 million. This signing of this deal angles him to get that 7-year, $290 million Supermax contract from Oklahoma City in the summer of 2021. Malik, initial thoughts and reaction to Paul George not even taking a meeting from the Lakers or any other team and re-signing with Oklahoma City the first minute of free agency.
I think Paul George is completely resigned to the fact that for the rest of his career, he doesn't want any more pressure on himself as a superstar or the leader of a team.
Wow.
Indiana, he thought he was the guy. He told everybody he was the guy. They began to turn on him. He jumped ship immediately. You get the chance to go to LA, Showtime, bright lights, best fans in the NBA. Does he really want that? Does he really want to be in that LA market where they will criticize him for every bad performance? He had a lot of bad performances last year. Every single bad performance he'd have, LA would crucify him. I don't think he wants that. I think he's great in the small market playing behind Russell. When he messes up, they say a few things. Paul George needs to play better. It's Russ's fault. Whenever they lose, it's Russ's fault. Paul George is going to play the rest of his career as a secondary star in a small market.
That's a hot take. And you know what? I agree with you, Malik. I think that's a really good take on Paul George. Joey, I'll let you go next. What's your initial thoughts here? Sorry, I got to put you after Malik there.
I think Paul George had some very good games though with OKC as well.
He did.
And
yeah, he did.
I think
Reggie Jackson had some pretty good games for the Pistons.
I think
too.
Let's not go that far.
I think OKC just struggled as a team in general. But I think Paul George was the guy in Indiana.
He
and it didn't work out.
Yeah,
I think in
but then
large
the
part
downslide
because of that
happened.
injury that he had. Because as soon as he got his injury,
he was scoring more after the injury.
But when he got his injury and everybody got scared and he started losing Roy Hibbert, David West, all these guys, Lance Stevenson ended up moving on. All these guys that surrounded him that made Indiana such a good team left. And then it's by himself. And he's
Exactly.
how many players in the league can legitimately carry their team by themselves
Two.
to anywhere?
Not many,
I'd say two.
Right.
LeBron and KD.
pretty much.
And even LeBron didn't make it.
What are you talking about?
He got close. I'm just saying, like, to win a championship, like to take that much pressure.
Even in Oklahoma City, KD came up small sometimes. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
LeBron is really
everybody
the only
comes up
true,
small
but-
sometimes.
So I'm just saying that I think that injury plagued a lot on Paul George's career, and now I think it's turned him into he's scared to be under that scrutiny again, and I don't think it was all his fault that he failed in Indiana.
Oh, yeah,
I think a
it
lot of
definitely
it,
wasn't.
like I said, was the injury. But I think Malik, you're right though, where now he's a little bit nervous that he doesn't want to be in that spotlight anymore because I don't know, he might just be a little bit nervous with the whole injury thing, and then I don't know what happened.
Because I'm sure his heart was in Indiana and he loved that city and playing for them. So when all the players started leaving and everybody said, "You're the guy that's gonna put us there," and they started losing and they blamed him, I'm sure that broke him along with the injury. That
Right.
kind of broke him inside and it made him think, I really can't do this anymore. I need to be the secondary guy.
Bold takes. That's all I gotta say. Bold takes. But OKC also made some other minor moves. They re-signed Jeremy Grant, kind of that guard forward, who also played a little bit of center for OKC in the playoffs. 3 years, $27 million. That's kind of an overpay in my opinion.
Yep.
Was
They
that
also today, as of the recording of this show, signed Nerlens Noel to a 1-year deal, veteran minimum. I think that's solid value.
I always think
that-
Nerlens has potential.
Yeah, and depth behind Steven Adams. They're not asking him to be their starter, just a little bit of depth. One question I want to pose you guys too, with the movements in OKC, do you think the core built around Russell Westbrook and Paul George will ever compete? And I mean, actually compete for an NBA championship, as in getting to the Western Conference and being a game away from going to the NBA Finals.
No. Second round at best.
You don't think they can add another player to that core to push them over the ledge?
Even if they added another player, Russ is always going to be Russ. He's one of the greatest players of this generation. But I personally,
But he's selfish.
I don't enjoy watching him because
Just say what you gotta say.
you can't go 100 miles per hour all the time and be an extremely impactful player that gets the team to a change. You have to know how to change speeds. You can't play like that, even though he's a great player, to win it all, in my opinion.
Joe?
I don't see it happening. Maybe if Carmelo can figure out his role on that team, or if they get rid of Melo and they decide to move on and get a different player. The problem with OKC the whole time has been their depth. As they've freaked out when Andre Roberson went down. I know he's a great defender, but he doesn't really provide anything else
They
for
should
the
have traded
team.
for Avery Bradley.
And they're already, like, as soon as he goes down, then they don't have anybody. They have guys like Jeremy Grant, all these guys that are just barely even B-level players, in my opinion. And I think OKC has really struggled with their depth throughout their entire franchise.
After Jeff Green, Russ, and KD, and James Harden, since those, they haven't drafted well. And it's crazy to think that that's really hurt them. A lot of free agent signings, but after those MVPs, they thought they were going to carry it. They leave. Nothing else.
We just got some breaking news.
Shouts out to Mitch
Mitch
McGarry.
Some breaking news. We will get back to this OKC stuff in just a second. Small minor deal involving your Detroit Pistons.
Oh, no, they signed James.
It's a They actually did not, but that's a good. I did not want James on this back here. It is a former Piston,
Oh man.
adding
former
some
Piston.
point guard depth. He started a handful of games last year. He signed to the veteran minimum.
Wow. Dwight
Jose Calderon.
What?
I mean, Jose Calderon, he gives you some depth. He's better than Jameer Nelson. He's not going to be your backup point guard.
I would rather have Dwight Bikes.
I would not. Dwight's making more than
I'd
the
rather
vet
have-
minimum. You rather have Dwight Bikes?
Jose.
I think so.
I mean, you have Keenan Evans, who's going to be your
Oh,
two-way
man.
player.
Jose Calderon was the third string in Cleveland last year.
He started. What are you talking about?
In the playoffs, I mean. How come he didn't play any meaningful minutes in the playoffs?
Yeah, because he would have got busted up. So
Sorry.
like I said, it's a minor deal, but we're recording. We got to report the breaking news.
Oh, jeez.
Jose Calderon back with the Pistons, gonna wear that number 8 once again.
He's what we use the minimum on?
Yeah, you can
I
use the
forgot he
minimum as
played
much
for
as
the
you want.
Pistons.
Yeah, well, that was the year they
Oh, man.
shifted Brandon Knight to the shooting guard position, and they started Jose Calderon and Brandon Knight. Yeah, so yeah, I just want
Wow.
to touch on that. I mean, as it comes in, as I get
Mood
breaking
killer.
news, it's not a mood killer. It's a minor signing, but I think it's interesting that maybe they offered Anthony Tolliver that vet minimum, and once Tolliver decided to go to Minnesota, that's when they jumped on that Jose Calderon deal. That's my thing.
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a good plan, but I'm just saying
Jose Calderon.
the timing.
Yeah.
Malik, you act like Jose Calderon's gonna be playing 25 minutes a night.
Jose Calderon is
He's
30
not-
minutes away from retirement.
Yeah, he's not gonna play. He's not playing 25 minutes a night. That dude will be lucky if he plays like 4 or 5. So I
Which
mean,
is okay.
because you still have Ish Smith. You have Reggie
Yes.
Ish Smith, and Jose Calderon's probably your extra depth if/when Reggie gets injured again.
That's why I said, why not just Dwight Bikes?
I
Younger,
don't
more
care for
athletic.
Dwight. I don't care.
Honestly, I think I'd take
Dwight-
Jose Calderon. over
Dwight Bikes is a little selfish.
I can't do Dwight Bikes.
He had like 2 good games, and I'm like, I'm not about him.
Watching him and James Ennis together. Let's get off of that.
Yeah, okay. Let's go back to greener grasses and
Go to everybody else but the Pistons.
All right. Back to OKC. Joey touched on this a little bit. I want to pose another question to you guys. A lot of questions here in our free agency recap show. Carmelo Anthony. He opted into his player option. Steven Adams on social media kind of gave the inclination that he didn't want Carmelo back. By opening night 2018, is Carmelo Anthony on the Oklahoma City Thunder roster? Malik.
I'm going to go with yes because I honestly don't know about any other deals they could make with Carmelo.
They could
And,
stretch him, so as in release him and stretch his salary over a couple of years.
I mean, if you release him, does that make the team worse or better? Like you got.
That's an interesting
think
question.
about
That's
that.
an interesting question because
Which
they
is why
did-
I think they're going to keep him because if you just slide in Roberson, that's a pretty good starting 5.
it is pretty good, but they've had negative impact when Carmelo plays defense. He's not a good defensive player, and they play him at the 4, and Carmelo won't come off the bench. I mean, it's something interesting that I think Oklahoma City will take a hard look at, whether to stretch him, because they can't trade him. No one's going to trade for him at $29 point whatever million a year. Joey, same question.
I think it'd be smart for them to try to just
To stretch him?
just to see what they can do. And because kind of like we said earlier, I don't see OKC making any noise in the playoffs. So losing Carmelo, yes, I think would affect their team and make their team worse. But they're not going to do anything this year anyway. So I think they might as well start developing their lineup without Carmelo and see what they can do without him rather than him be a distraction perhaps.
They need to play Terrence Ferguson a lot more. He has a lot of promise.
I think he's a couple years away from being a couple years away. I think there's he's-
That's what they said about Bruno Caboclo when he came into
yeah,
the
this is the
NBA.
year. This is the year going into 2018.
Terrence Ferguson is a lot better than Bruno Caboclo.
Bruno Caboclo, this is supposed to be his coming out party this year. I'm so happy for that. I cannot wait to see him in the G League. Yeah, so
Ooh.
you know,
Might be the only one.
I probably am. But I think it will be OKC using the stretch provision. I think there's a little too much smoke to that fire that players don't want him there. I think Steven Adams kind of like commenting or leaving him off whatever Instagram post it was, that says a lot. Steven Adams is your heart and soul, along with Russell Westbrook. It'll be interesting to see. I say he's not on the opening night roster. But one guy that will be on the opening night roster for your Dallas Mavericks, DeAndre Jordan. Finally a Maverick. After, what was that, 2 years ago? He reneged on his deal, his agreement with the Dallas Mavericks.
He was playing phone games with Mark Cuban.
Blake Griffin had him trapped in his house.
The infamous poker game.
The infamous poker game. But DeAndre Jordan, he signs a 1 year, which was surprising to me. The contract details were pretty surprising to me. 1 year, $24.1 million, essentially his player option. The Clippers got zero value for him. He just walked. What is your thoughts on DeAndre Jordan going to the Mavericks and how that'll work out, along with the Clippers letting him walk and not trading him when they could have at the trade deadline, Joey?
Him going to Dallas, I don't see it changing the dynamic of Dallas as a whole. It obviously makes them better, but I mean, he's just going to do what he does. He's not this crazy, flashy player, besides the lobs, obviously. And I think that he'll work well with like Dallas's young athletic guards, but he doesn't bring a ton to the table for a team. He's just one of those solid, great players that's been in the league for a while, and he does what he does. You know what you're going to get when you have DeAndre Jordan. Now, the Clippers not getting anything for him is really weird, that they didn't try to do some sort of deal with Dallas, especially with, like we said, him signing almost near his player option with Dallas. For the Clippers to not get anything out of that seems like a big mistake. And like, if they could have done something, it would have benefited both teams. So I don't know why or what happened there that they didn't try to get anything done.
Yeah. I don't understand since DeAndre Jordan ultimately goes back to Dallas, why is he signing a 1 year deal? For a guy who he's about 30, 31 years old, you'd think he would want that financial security. Maybe it wasn't offered by Dallas, and Dallas was the only place that was really offering that type of money. We'll never know. Right. But it's just shocking to me to see he didn't get a long-term deal. Malik, what do you think about this move?
I'm really surprised that the Lakers
Clippers,
weren't even in.
Clippers.
I mean, the Lakers weren't a consideration.
Oh, okay.
Well, now they could be next year.
Getting DeAndre
now that he's on a 1 year deal.
Getting DeAndre Jordan to help LeBron this first year and be able to hold down that pain. Although JaVale is a solid signing, having DeAndre,
he's no DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, DeAndre would have been a huge help for LeBron in this first year, but very surprised that he went to Dallas, which is in rebuilding mode right now.
DeAndre signed before LeBron, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Lakers were trying to get their talks with DeMarcus Cousins in before they would talk to DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they tried to talk with Clint Capella too.
They did. Both.
Because DeAndre Jordan out of Clint Capella and DeMarcus Cousins, I think he's the third option.
I agree with you.
So I think that's ultimately the reason why they didn't get him because he signed right away. Now, for him to sign right away and not wait for a Lakers to see what unfolds, I understand what
him signing so quickly. I wonder what went through his head, leaving the Clippers so fast and not considering anybody else.
Yeah.
See, I think this move is actually just bad timing for the Mavericks as well. You just drafted Luka Doncic. You still have Dennis Smith Jr., who's progressing. You have 1 more year at Dirk before he retires. You have young guys that you're kind of trying to bring along. Why not rebuild for 1 more year, get another solid draft choice, which you're not going to get now? DeAndre is going to make you into that cusp of a playoff team. And that they'll probably get like the 11th pick or the 12th pick. I'm not sure I would have done it, especially for a 1 year deal. It's bad timing, bad contract. I don't like the move for either the player or the team.
Mark Cuban wants butts back in the seats. He's a businessman at the end of the day, so I'm
Very
not surprised
point.
he made the move at all.
Very good point, Malik. This is probably the most surprising move to me, most unexpected move. Trevor Ariza on the first day of free agency, ditching a Houston Rockets team who was a game away and an injury away from going to the NBA Finals and probably winning the NBA championship, to go to a bottom feeder in the Phoenix Suns, signing a 1 year, $15 million deal. To me, this says one thing. Money means a lot to this guy. $15 million at his age, that's a lot of money. That's essentially your JJ Redick type deal that Philly gave JJ last year. Joey, I'll hit you first. Trevor Ariza in Phoenix. Why does Trevor make this deal, and why does Phoenix make this deal?
I think it's a move for Phoenix to see if they can compete in the Western Conference, which I keep saying I think they're close. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be better. And I think this is kind of their way of saying, hey, we're going to try. We're going to try to compete a little bit this year. And obviously for Ariza, it doesn't really make sense as a basketball move. Financially, I guess it makes sense. But that was really surprising, and I think it's really impactful for the Rockets. I think a lot of people are kind of understating the impact that he has for that team. He's one of their defensive anchors. And for him to leave it was really shocking.
My next question to you, I might as well give you the follow-up right now since we're here. They are left with a huge hole at their small forward spot. What is there a player out there on whether it's the trade block or the free agency market that you think could be plugged into that role? Maybe not be the same player as Trevor Ariza, but fill the gap enough where they're still about that same competitiveness.
Well, they've been in the talks with James Ennis.
You think they?
So
don't,
they can
James
have
Ennis
him.
is not Trevor Ariza.
You think?
I'm just saying they can have him.
You think PJ Tucker is a huge hole?
PJ was a bench player. I consider Trevor Ariza a better player.
PJ played
Tucker.
better than Trevor Ariza.
I
in the
always
playoffs.
think too that Gerald Green can start. He's been a starter in the past.
And he could be backup or I think starting PJ Tucker
PJ's
on that
old.
team is okay.
I'm not sure.
Trevor
If
Ariza's
I'm
old.
PJ's
too,
playing his best basketball.
PJ doesn't look like he's in his best basketball shape right now.
I don't know if
To put it
Those
like,
shots were falling.
I don't know if he ever has.
that's my question.
But
I
I
feel
don't-
like he's more.
I don't-
injury
shots
prone.
were
I feel like he's better suited to guard the 4 position.
I think a player they might look at, and I'm not sure if it's been reported. I think Wilson Chandler. He's on the trading block from Denver. He's got a decent
I don't
contract.
think he's better than PJ Tucker right
Stop
now.
it. Yes, he is.
I think he is, yeah.
Yes, he is.
You think
He's
he'll
had
make-
some
you
injury
think he'll make
issues, though.
You think he's a better shooter than PJ Tucker?
he's
That's
a better
the bigger
he's a better
question.
shooter. Not defender. He's a better shooter.
PJ Tucker shot the lights out in the playoffs.
He is
for them.
better. Wilson.
He played
in
insane.
the playoffs. It's a smaller sample size in the playoffs.
Wilson Chandler hasn't been to the playoffs many times
Because he's playing with the Denver Nuggets.
and he's
Not the
comfortable in
Houston
Denver.
Rockets. Yeah, but not the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Chris Paul. No, but PJ Tucker is going to be good. And I think that's partly the reason why Houston didn't up the ante in any contract discussions.
And Ariza really struggled in the playoffs, too, actually.
Malik, yeah, that's what Malik brought up too.
So-
PJ was really kind of holding down the fort for that small forward spot. Malik, I think you kind of answered the question that I posed to Joey. You don't think they have to do much here to fill that small forward spot, do you?
No, but going back over to the Trevor Ariza thing, I respect Trevor Ariza a lot for this move because along with making a good amount of money in this contract, I think he's done ring chasing. He won his championship with LA. He's had a great run in Houston. Now it's time to help Josh Jackson, help Mikal Bridges,
And get that money.
and get that money and help these young guys move on and become really good players in their careers. I think Trevor Ariza he's at the point his age and his level of play is falling each year. I think he knows what he's becoming, and
maybe
Yeah.
he knew he wasn't going to get $15 million a year ever again, and said, you know what, I need to take this right now.
he's looking to help these young guys.
Yep. And that's a good point. I think he would be a really good mentor for Josh Jackson. Josh Jackson's that same kind of body frame, body type, and Trevor's a star caliber defender back in his heyday. So I think it's a good move for Phoenix. I'm not sure about Trevor Ariza just because of success, but we'll see. On top, kind of piggybacking on Houston Rocket moves, Chris Paul is back with the Rockets, like we all expected. 4 years, $160 million.
That's a huge contract.
It's a huge
It's a lot of
contract
money.
for a guy that's 33, so he'd be 37 at the time this is done. There's not really much to discuss here. Do you guys have anything you want to bring up for Chris Paul?
At the end of this contract, and the Rockets are going to be bad for a lot of years.
Once they're done,
After
yeah.
this James Harden era and after this Chris Paul contract, the Rockets are going to be really, really bad for a while.
I mean, there's a lot
They're
of suckers in
they're
the
going for broke. They got close once. They're going for it all.
Joey, anything on Chris Paul?
No, it's kind of expected.
Yep.
I think this will kind of wind down CP3's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, ending here in Houston. Another team that took care of business, the Denver Nuggets. They re-signed Nikola Jokic, big money, 5 years, $148 million, and I think he's worth everything. That dude is a
Completely,
stud.
yeah.
Top 20 player in the NBA, in my opinion. I'm happy for him. They declined the Denver Nuggets did something cool. They declined the team option on Nikola Jokic to pay him his money now. Regardless if there was a threat by the people that represent Jokic, it's regardless. They
And that's
did it
because
and they signed him.
they'll have his contract until he's 28 when he's basically in his prime. So,
Yeah, and they can re-sign there too.
right.
They also re-signed Will Barton, who I thought was maybe going to get more consideration outside of Denver. 4 years, $54 million. I think that's a little bit, might be a slight overpay, but to keep him in Denver, he was essential to that bench for the Nuggets. And the interesting thing to me about Denver, before the LeBron James to LA news, Chris Mannix of Yahoo Sports reported that Denver was trying aggressively to secure a meeting with LeBron James. It didn't happen. To me, though, that tells me this Nugget front office, coaching staff, and team, they are trying to compete, and they're going all in with this core. Do you believe in the Denver Nuggets, Malik? Do you think they're a playoff team next year? And maybe a contender in the future?
I do believe they're a playoff team right now. I think they'll jump ahead of the Timberwolves. Maybe. I think losing Jamal Crawford was a big thing for Minnesota because he played really good for them. I don't know who's going to take that role. Signing back D Rose.
I didn't care for that move
yeah.
just because Tyus Jones, I think he needs some minutes. He's a good value.
You
know,
have
I
Karl
agree.
Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's my favorite player right now, but I don't think them two, as a whole, that team isn't better than Denver's. I think Denver is a 6 or 7 seed this year. I think they could possibly upset somebody.
Yeah, Gary Harris is solid. I think Jamal
Murray's
is
come
gonna be
into his
good.
own. Paul Millsap, if he can stay healthy.
He's got to shoot the three ball better too to stretch the floor there.
Yeah, he did back in Atlanta, so I think he has the potential. I just think he had a kind of rough year last year.
with the injuries and everything. And that. Oh yeah, Aaron Gordon re-signing with Orlando, 4 years, $84 million. Is that an overpay for Aaron Gordon? So that's about $21 million a year.
I expected them to pay him more.
Not based
Really?
off his stats last year, I think. I
See-
think the way that he improved just in the 1 year, I think that's what they're going off of. And
Okay.
I think his potential ceiling
They're
is
paying
still
him for
going up.
potential. Yeah, I agree with that because over the span of his career, I don't think he deserves the 4 year, $84 million.
Right.
But based on the potential that he showed last year, he made a big
the
jump.
jump, yes.
He made a big jump. So Orlando is kind of doubling down on the one potential piece they have to become a star. So for Orlando, I think it's a good move. Would I have personally done it? Probably not, because I'm not sure he will be a star in the next level. Notable signings, we'll touch on that a little bit. Can't touch on every single player that signed because there's a lot of movement. Actually, before we do the notable signings, you guys want to get into the Pistons, who they actually signed?
Sure.
All right. Now I gotta give Joey Tysick.
Malik.
I gotta give Joey. I know Malik Hill is not a
Malik's super happy.
he's not a fan of the
Ecstatic.
Pistons, but
Over the moon.
Resident Michigan guy.
I'm not a
Resident-
fan of the Pistons.
Yeah,
They
you're
are
not a
my
fan.
team,
No,
which is
stop.
why frustration.
we'll let Malik will get into it in a second here. But I gotta give Joey his props. First off and foremost, he labeled this guy as a Piston target, and you know what? They signed him. Glenn Robinson III. Joey, what'd you see in GR3 to be a good fit here?
He's young. He plays the basketball the way that it's being played right now, 3-and-D kind of guy. He's a forward. I still think he's got a lot of upside. And yeah, he fits into the team. I mean, we need him. He could start potentially if somebody doesn't step up. I think obviously he's a bench player right now, but he has that potential.
Yeah, the deal is 2 years, $8.3 million. He'll make $4 million in his first year. And the Pistons played a little bit extra for that team option the year after. So if he does suffer a bad injury or just doesn't play well, they can just release him into free agency next
He
year.
shot 40% for the three, too.
Yep, he shot 40%
last
from
year.
the three. 24 years old. He's still a young kid. He won the slam dunk contest a couple years back, so he's got that athleticism. Malik, why are you so down on Glenn Robinson?
Yeah,
III?
come
The
on.
signing is horrifying to me.
Horrifying.
Who else
You're
do you
giving
want?
Wait.
Doug McDermott got a $22 million contract.
Yeah.
When I
Well,
saw
I
that,
was-
when I
wait,
saw
let's-
that, I was like, I'm glad we didn't get McDermott.
Malik, the floor is yours.
I know for a fact Doug McDermott would come in and hit threes.
He shot the
He
same
shot
percentage as Glenn
He
Robinson.
shot great last year, but I don't have faith in Glenn Robinson III as an NBA player. I hope he's good. I just don't have faith in him. He hasn't shown me anything. He hasn't shown me anything. If I'm surprised, that will be amazing. If he is a surprise.
So you think he won't show anything next year?
I don't expect much. I really don't.
I like that he brings a defensive front, whereas if we would have gotten McDermott, he has no defense. He's just a shooter.
I mean, would I have rather had McDermott at 2 years, 8.3? Of course, but that wasn't his value.
Right.
And let me pose this question to you, Malik. You got for 2 years, 8.3 million. You can pick Glenn Robinson III or James Ennis. Who are you picking?
I will gladly take Glenn Robinson
Thank you.
III.
Thank you, because that's about James Ennis'
Case
value
closed.
right now.
I don't want to watch James Ennis in that broken jump shot
Dude,
form again.
thank you. I know that was, and they were saying he was a shooter coming from Memphis too. That was a rough one. But another thing that I think this signing helps is Stanley Johnson and Reggie Bullock. They have to get paid next year, regardless if you think they deserve a spot on your team or not. They're going to make
You have
their money.
somebody to back them up.
You have somebody to back up. They're probably going to make a decision between one of those two. I would be surprised if Stanley and Reggie were both on the team 2 years from now. So it gives you that depth behind them and that option. If Glenn does step up, you got someone for the cheap to fill that gap. So I think it's a good move, especially since they have that team option. Other notable signings, like we said, Doug McDermott to the Pacers, 3 years, $22 million. A lot of money for Doug McDermott. Rudy Gay remained with San Antonio Spurs. Joe Harris back in Brooklyn.
Spurs got Marco Bellinelli. That's a good signing.
Yeah,
him coming back.
2 years, $12 million too. That's good value for a shooter like Marco. Dirk's back in Dallas. Like, I know it's a shocker to everybody, but he's back. I want to touch on Joey's Pelicans here. Alfred Payton. I like the signing. It sounds like it's for about $3 million, which is great value for Alfred.
1 year deal.
They're still interested in Rajon Rondo, which
and
I
should
think
be.
They should, yes.
They definitely should be.
They definitely should be, because I think Rondo would be the perfect mentor to Alfred
They're
Payton.
exactly the same type of player.
Alfred's a little bit better shooter, but
Right.
Joey, I'll let you.
And Rondo has that mentality as well.
Yeah, he's a born leader. He's born ready, Lance Stevenson. But does this move push the needle for you, for the Pelicans?
No, not necessarily. I like the move, yeah, but he doesn't make the team all that much better per se. But I do like having that backup guard. You can leave Drew Holiday off guard, not having to handle the ball as much. He obviously can if he needs to, but just having that other guy to replace Rondo, to let him kind of rest throughout the season. You've seen them kind of been doing that to hopefully push for the playoffs again this year. So I think it's a solid deal. I think it's great for at least what they were able to do. The biggest question is still DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, and that's another guy that we're waiting to see where he signs. Mario Hezonja, a target for the Pistons. We talked about him last week's show. He signed for 1 year, $6.3 million with the New York Knicks. I mean, low risk, high reward. It's a 1 year deal. Knicks are likely not going to be a playoff team next year. I'd take a flyer on him.
I think that's a really interesting pickup.
Yeah.
I really like him in New York.
I was surprised the Magic declined his option, because for a team that's so deathly in need of talent, why give up on a 2015 lottery pick so early?
I don't know, because I feel like he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, but I would just take one more year of him.
I agree with the potential and stuff, but
I agree he hasn't done anything, but I don't blame it on him at all. I don't think it's his fault.
Yeah. One signing that was a really savvy signing, and I don't think it's overpaid, but for a second round pick is good money. Fred VanVleet, back with the Toronto Raptors, drafted in the second round, not this past year, but the year before.
Did he go? I thought he went undrafted.
Maybe he did go undrafted. I could be wrong.
I think he went undrafted.
So he went undrafted. He's making $9 million a year next year for a guy that went undrafted 2 years ago. That's fantastic. I'm happy for Fred VanVleet. He was a rotation player as soon as he stepped on the court. We're about ready to wrap up the show here. I want to give you guys the floor on who was your most interesting signing outside of LeBron James. Joey, you go first.
I wasn't ready for that question.
Gotta throw you for a loop, man.
I still think DeAndre to Dallas. Just
Just the contract details.
yeah, it just doesn't. It's just weird. Like I thought he would have just gone back to the Clippers if that's what he was looking for, the money. Like I don't know. It doesn't really make sense financially or basketball wise. I don't know if it's like he's just making up to Dallas. Like, hey, I'm sorry I made that mistake. I'll sign a 1-year deal with you real quick and
Yeah,
I'll
maybe
move
it's
on next year.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Like it's his apology letter.
Malik, what's your most interesting signing so far?
I'm gonna go with Elfrid Payton to the Pelicans,
Yeah.
and I think Mario Hezonja to the Knicks. I think Dave Fizdale can get the most out of him.
I like that.
And
yeah.
if he does, Mario Hezonja is extremely athletic. He has a really nice jumper. He just has to polish up his handle and the rest of his game, and
Not be
he
so
has a
cocky.
solid IQ.
He's also really cocky too. I think he just got to be coached up a little bit. I think Fizz is a perfect match for him. So hopefully he can get his career back on track. Another notable signing, I don't think we touched on yet in the show, Derek Favors back in Utah, 2 years, $36 million, $18 million a year for Derek Favors. Good payday for him. Happy for him. A big key piece back in Utah.
JJ
Playing
Redick
well.
back with Philly.
Yes, JJ Redick back
I
in
didn't
Philly
see
as
that.
well.
That's a
Yep.
big
That's a
one.
huge, big
Yep.
pickup.
$13 million a year for JJ, so a slight pay decrease, but since they lost Marco Bellinelli and Ersan
definitely
Ilyasova,
needed
they
him
needed
back.
him
Yeah.
bad. Next week on the show, we'll still be breaking down free agency. We're only 1 day in, guys, and we've already had all this.
So
Got
much.
DeMarcus Cousins
So much.
left. Tyreek Evans.
Jamal Crawford. We got a bunch of guys left. Summer League starts this week as well. The California Classic tonight. Pistons will start to Friday in the Las Vegas Summer League, so we'll have some Summer League stuff to go through as well. A lot of basketball still to be played here in July.
There are 4 former Michigan basketball players playing in the summer league this week. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. All right. Well, that's it for our show. I'm Chris Pappas, Joey Tysick, Malik Hill. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
LeBron shouldn't have gone to LA.